This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 206, 5 resources for upping your webinar mojo. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you grow your tribe and your bottom line through insanely good content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is December 22nd, 2016. Hello, or as we say in Texas, howdy. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. Just a reminder, this podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and now Google Play Music. So if you like what you hear, please feel free to click on over and subscribe. Also, happy to report that my new book, The Content Marketing Coach, Everything You Need to Get in the Game and Win, is now available on Amazon on book and Kindle format. And here's what New York Times best-selling author Jeffrey Hazlett had to say about it. He said, "Read this book to find out how to make content a winner in any business. Rachel Parker is going to lead you to the Super Bowl of success," unquote. To learn more about the book and to download a free chapter, I can speak today, go to contentmarketingcoachbook.com. Now, as we've been talking about, for many of us, December is a slow month, business-wise. Not all of us, but some of us. So last week, we explored 5 resources for using this downtime to broaden your horizons on podcasting. If you see podcasting in your future, if it's part of your 2017 strategy. If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or Stitcher or via the RSS feed. Today, we are continuing our theme of how to make the most of December downtime, if you have it. And today we look at how you can brush up on your webinar savvy. But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. You know, when I went to research this week's news feed, I was thinking, it's 3 days till Christmas. What could possibly be going on? Actually, quite a lot, believe it or not. Big announcement from Instagram. They have rolled out live video for all U.S. users. Now, we've said this was coming, and lo and behold, here it is, just in time for the holidays. So live video will be a new feature in Stories, and you can instantly go live by swiping into the Stories camera mode and tapping the live button. Now, according to the Next Web, live videos will indeed disappear once the recording is done. So I'm guessing it won't be like a Facebook where we'll save it for future viewing. Speaking of Facebook, it's pretty interesting because Facebook owns Instagram, and Facebook Live is pretty much dominating the live video market. So I'm just wondering about how this new feature will fit in. I'm guessing that they see 2 different audiences. You have your Facebook people and you have your Instagram people, and the Facebook people will use Facebook Live, and Instagram folks will use the live feature on Instagram. So it will be interesting to see how all this unfolds. Also, no word on when live video will be available worldwide. I'm sure that's coming. So stay tuned for information on that. News out of Snapchat this week, this quote-unquote quiet week, which is not so quiet. Just in time for the holidays, Snapchat has added a group feature that lets you communicate with up to 16 friends. So previously, you've been able to do one-on-one chat and then save items to your story. So you haven't been able to have that chat feature up until now. What you can do is you can create a new group while you're sending a snap or making a new chat. And it's simple. Apparently, I've not tried it out, but it's simple to toggle between one-on-one and group conversations, which if you have ever been held hostage in a group text will be welcome news. Oh my gosh, those things drive me crazy. Also, Snapchat has introduced 2 new creative tools, Scissors and Paintbrush. Now, Scissors, what that lets you do is lets you cut out part of a snap and turn it into a sticker. So I've actually played with this a little bit. I took a picture of me and Sophie and cut out her sweet little face and turned it into a sticker, which was quite cool. And then the new Paintbrush tool can be applied to snaps in memories and can, and quoting from the article here, turn these images into an artistic masterpiece. Now, I've not played with Paintbrush yet, but I will check it out and report back. News out of Twitter. See, I told you a lot was going on this week. Twitter has added the ability to live broadcast from iOS and Android apps. So basically, Twitter has broken down the last barrier between Twitter and Periscope and made it completely seamless. So you can now create and tweet live video directly from the Twitter mobile app without having to switch to Periscope. And you may have seen some tweets, and I think I even got an email from Twitter about this new feature. So you can check that out if you are on Twitter anytime soon. Okay, our content hit of the week is a post called 5 Ways to Skyrocket Your Content Marketing in 2017. This is written by Dmytro Spilka. Dmytro, I hope I'm saying that right, over at The Next Web. Now, usually when I run across titles like this, I gotta admit, I kind of roll my eyes because it's usually the same old thing. You use keywords and publish frequently, use hashtags, blah, blah, blah. But I trust The Next Web. I trust them to give me good, meaty, current content. And this post did not disappoint. So what Dmytro does is he focuses on the fact that, dude, everybody's creating content. Everybody and their dog is out there creating content. And we need to be more creative in the way we approach our content if we're going to stand out and be memorable. And he talks about some really interesting innovation, such as, taking interesting ways of combining text and visual content to create something that is that leverages the strengths of both and creates something very new and very interesting. So it really is a terrific read, and I will include a link, of course, in the blog post for this episode. The name of that again was 5 Ways to Skyrocket Your Content Marketing in 2017 by Dmytro Spilka over at The Next Web. Okay, that's it for this week's update. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please tweet it to me at Rach Parker so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment, 5 resources for upping your webinar mojo. As I mentioned, December is typically a slow month for many of us, especially in the B2B world. Not true for everyone. I'm sure if you are in retail or travel or hospitality, you are, I'm surprised you have time to listen to this podcast right now. It's just come back to us when things slow down. We'll still be here. But for many industries, this is the time of year. We've wrapped up our strategies. You have wrapped up your strategy, haven't you? Still time. People are taking those use it or lose it vacation days. The kids are off school. Things are just sort of winding down for the year. So that's why this is the perfect time to focus on continuing education topics, those resources you've been meaning to check out, but just haven't gotten around to looking at or to viewing or to listening to. So this month, we're looking at some of those topics that a lot of content marketers are looking to learn more about. And today I want to talk about webinars. Now, some people are saying that webinars are passé, that in today's blink or you miss it content environment, to ask someone to sit down with your content for an hour is just simply too much. They say that they've gone the way of the dinosaur and just forget about them. But yet, brands are still using them and they are making them work. They are seeing results. So if you're thinking about adding webinars to your repertoire in 2017, this week is a great time to really get your hands dirty, get into it, learn what you need to learn. And I have got 5 resources to get you started. And before I start my list, keep in mind, I will provide all the links to all resources in the blog post for this episode. So you don't need to go hunting around for those. I will gladly provide those to you. Okay, the first resource I want to share is an ebook by Unbounce. It's called the Smart Marketer's Guide to Webinar Marketing. And it's a very comprehensive ebook. I want to say it's like 53 pages. And what I like about it is it's divided into 3 parts: before the event, during event, and after the event, with most of the work taking place in that before section. Because, a lot of folks, they want to dive into, okay, what what software do I need to use, and how do I structure my presentation, and do I pause for questions, and do we record or do we not record? But actually, if you don't do the legwork on the front end, none of that's going to matter because you're not going to have an audience. So they talk about things like how to choose a topic that appeals to people, how to choose your expert guests, how to create a marketing campaign around your webinar. Very, very good detailed advice on that front end. And then, of course, we need some advice for the webinar itself and for the follow-up. So very, very good ebook by Unbounce called The Smart Marketer's Guide to Webinar Marketing. And again, I will provide all these links in the blog post for this episode. The second resource I want to share is a white paper by GoToWebinar, who know a thing or two about webinars, right? And this is called Making the Business Case for Webinars. So if you do make the decision to add webinars to your content marketing strategy, your next step, of course, you need to convince your VP of marketing or maybe your CMO or maybe your CEO to give you the go-ahead to start doing them. So this white paper highlights the results of a survey that was conducted by GoToWebinar, and it features some really juicy tidbits that really demonstrate the power of webinars. For example, here's one that I'm quoting here. Quote, webinars require significantly fewer investments of time and out-of-pocket expenses than trade shows, in-person seminars, or online conferences / virtual trade shows. There are a lot of little nuggets like that that really that can be very compelling in making the case for webinars. So whether you need to convince your CMO or maybe you're just yourself for now about whether or not to do webinars, you will definitely find some interesting data in this white paper. Again, that is called Making the Business Case for Webinars, and I will, of course, provide you the link. The third is a webinar about webinars. How meta is that, right? And this is an interesting webinar by On24. Now, before I tell you about this, I will say if you go to on24.com and go to their resources page, you will find a ton of information about webinars. It was hard for me to find one to focus on because they have a whole lot of different topics. Whatever you want to learn about webinars, they have a webinar for that. So, but the one I want to talk about right now is called How to Use Webinars to Close Business. And I found this really compelling because we usually think of webinars top or middle funnel tactic. It's to bring people in, to get them into our universe, get them aware of our brand while we share some good content. But webinars can be very effective sales tools as well. And so this on-demand webinar by On24 really focuses on creating bottom-of-the-funnel webinars that can help accelerate a prospect toward a sale. Now, if you're thinking, oh, Rachel, that's sales. We're in marketing. Well, we need to get over that because it is all one long continuum. So, it's definitely worth your while to look at how to use webinars, not only on the marketing side of things, but also how to partner with your sales team to make them an effective sales tool as well. And this webinar for On24 will show you how to do that. It's called How to Use Webinars to Close Business. Okay, resource number 4 is actually kind of a smattering. I was looking for a podcast that was dedicated to webinar marketing, but I wasn't able to find a current one. There have been some in the past that have been dedicated to webinars, but none of them are current. They seem to have dropped off around 2014, 2015. But I did find a ton of webinar episodes that were dedicated to webinars. So what I suggest you do is go to iTunes, go to the iTunes store, and do a search for webinar marketing. And you will find a whole list of episodes from Lance Tamashiro's podcast, from the Build Your Tribe podcast with Charlene Johnson. She had a couple of episodes on webinars. Also Marketing School with Neil Patel, with whom I'm sure you're familiar. They all did episodes on webinars, and some of them were standalone and some involved interviews with an expert. So what I suggest you do is do a search again, for webinar marketing, and get some of those episodes queued up in your iTunes. And this is a great thing to do, like, let's say if you're on a road trip for the holidays, you can get those episodes queued up, to either listen to in your car, or if you are in the air, listen to during those long hours in the airport and in the air. So go to iTunes, do a search for webinar marketing, and check out the episodes that you come up with. Okay, the last resource I want to share is called How to Leverage Webinars for B2B Lead Generation. And this is a slide share by our friends at Uberflip. And I really like this resource because, let's face it, webinars and B2B are a match made in heaven. Okay, B2B, it involves more complex products. It has a longer sales cycle. It's more multi-level decision making. It's more relationship based. It's really a perfect fit for webinars, whatever B2B business you happen to be in. So in this slide share, our friends at Uberflip, I just like saying Uberflip because it's fun to say. Uberflip, they show you how you can use webinars to convert the audience into leads before, during, and after the event. And of course, that's the end goal for all of us, right? So very, very interesting slide share over at slideshare.net. And I will, of course, provide the link in the blog post for this episode. So if you have some downtime this month and are looking to get educated on webinars, I recommend that you start with these 5 resources. Again, we'll share all the links with you. And of course, if you have any questions or want to add to the conversation or want to add your favorite resource to the list, I would love to hear from you. And the best way to reach me is through the website, resonancecontent.com, or you can always tweet me at @RachParker. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. Now, of course, the resources I just shared a few minutes ago will provide you with plenty of information about webinars, but I do want to focus on one aspect of webinar marketing. Really, the key is prepare, prepare, prepare. Think about it. Every week, hundreds of thousands of webinars are being broadcast, and the competition is fierce. And what makes webinars different is they're live events. So you need to ask people to be in front of a screen on a certain day at a certain time to give you their undivided attention. That is an uphill battle, my friends, especially in today's content shock universe. So we've got to be very strategic. And of course, all that strategic work comes on the front end. So from the selection of your topic to scheduling to those all-important promotions, it all has to be absolutely watertight and top-notch in terms of aligning with your target audience. So if you decide that you're going to get into webinars in 2017, make sure you allocate plenty of time, effort, and yes, promotional dollars to ensuring that you have a good turnout among your specific audience so that your webinars can be a success. Okay, campers, that's it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. Just, 3 days to Christmas? My goodness. If you like what you've heard, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play Music or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. Also, remember that my new book, The Content Marketing Coach, Everything You Need to Get in the Game and Win, is now available in book and Kindle format. To learn more about the book and to download a free chapter, go to contentmarketingcoachbook.com. As you know, I always like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from Napoleon Hill. He once said, quote, "Most great people have attained their greatest success just one step beyond their greatest failure," unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah, or whatever you are celebrating this weekend. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week. Take care.